Tall Girl is a pretty good film. This was released in 2019. This is directed by Zinga Stewart. I apologise if I've mispronounced that. It's written by Sam Wolfson, and we have a cast including Ava Michelle, Sabrina Carpenter, Griffin Gluck, Angela Kinsley, Steve Zahn. Great cast, solid performances, strong character writing, and I think quite an important narrative. I cannot relate in the slightest as somebody who is 5 foot and presumably shorter when I was at school. I did stop growing, I think, quite early on, but I've always been at least 5 foot or no more than 5 foot or under. I can't relate to what it's like to be a really tall female. But I can imagine if you can relate, I think this could be a really powerful film. And even if you can't relate, and you're one of the people who maybe treats somebody who's taller not very kindly, there are some important lessons here as well. Jodi is very tall, and people are quite unkind about that, but she's now determined to not let it affect her. She is more than just her height, and that's part of what the film is about, of finding her value, and again, lessons about how not to treat somebody just because they're taller. And obviously we have a lot of the typical high school things as well, her relationships with other people and her friendships. So it's a full package. It's not just about her height, it's about other aspects of school life as well, and I think it has a lot to offer. And I guess the point there is that even if you can't relate to the height aspect, it still has a lot going on. There are a lot of other aspects that are going to be relatable if you are or have been at school. So I think there's a lot going on there, and it's a very well written narrative. The characters are really strong. The performances are really great. We have some really great music as well. The music is very good, and there are some obviously really good lessons in here, some good messages, a lot of great takeaways. I have no complaints. I thought Tall Girl was a really interesting film, and it's also not something I'd ever thought about before. Again, as somebody who's 5 foot, I am very used to people making snide remarks and unkind comments. Usually when people reference my height, at least, I can't speak for other people of my height, but usually when they reference my height, they're not being unkind. But obviously it gets a little bit old when people are constantly saying, I didn't expect you to be so short. Okay, I didn't expect you to be so blunt. So I can't really relate to the height aspect with being taller, but I never really considered that it would be something somebody would feel uncomfortable about, especially for a female, for a teenager, a young girl who's maybe taller than her peers, not something I'd ever considered before. So for me, it was a very different perspective, and I learned to see things from Jodi's perspective, that actually it's not just shorter people who might face some unkind comments in life. So I found it to be quite eye-opening, and I think it did a really great job of giving a lot of perspectives and giving us some really great lessons there. And it's also just an enjoyable film. In general, I have no complaints. Tall Girl is a solid narrative, strong character writing, great performances, really good music, really believable situations, all things considered. I'd say it's a pretty decent experience, and I'm certainly happy to recommend it.